All right, guys, the classic and collectible car market. Are we back to cheap? Are things back to normal? Are things back to the way they were back in 2019? Or are they even worse or better? This is Bid Nerds. We're going to make some predictions. The bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your YouTube car game show. Oh, yeah, we are doing it. We are live on the YouTube machine. This is Bid Nerds. My name is John Polnik. I'll be your host tonight. We are coming to you live from the Container Park in downtown Las Vegas. And my partner over there, Michael Deeb, is in San Francisco. Sorry if that seemed a little awkward. Some guy walked in the door like, hey, what's going on? It's like, I'm doing a show, bro.
Yeah. Hey,
trying to do a show. What's up?
My pants are down.
Yeah, what's up out there in San Francisco, Michael Deeb? How are you?
Very good, JP. Nothing's happening out here, man.
Okay, well then we're not going to talk about that. All right, the big question tonight is everyone's going. There's so much going on in the car. Like when I was creating the thumbnail tonight, there were so many things I wanted to talk about. The big discussion right now is: are we returning to a normal car market like things were? Call it 5 years ago. It's 2025. Happy New Year to everyone. By the way, this is the first new episode of the year. But it seems like all the internet chatter in the car sphere, the automotive sphere, if you want to even call it that, is how everyone, all the car dealerships are offering all these rebates. Stellantis has big news. We'll talk about that a little later. But we want to talk about those things and how they affect not just the normie car market, but specifically for this channel, because we talk about collectible cars on Bring a Trailer and Cars and Bits. So, the big question is, what's going on in the market? Are prices going back to the way they were? Deeb, before we get to that, I actually wanted to bring up this thing. I almost want to do a standalone video. We touched on it for just a second on the last episode about, it's not really funny, unfortunately. It's with what happened on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day with the terrorist attacks. You had two EV vehicles used in awful attacks, both rented using the Turo app. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Turo app or not, but it is, it's like Airbnb for cars. If you've never used it, it's actually pretty cool. I use it a lot. I don't use it every time I rent a car, but probably every other time I rent a car. If I'm going somewhere to a city and I know I'm going to have a chance to drive a little bit, not just from the hotel to a convention or to work or something like that, but I'm like vacationing, or I know I'm going to have some time to hang out and maybe explore and do some back roads and stuff like that. I'm going to get on Turo because people have real sports cars on there. People have, you can rent things with a manual transmission. Good luck finding anything with a manual transmission at Hertz. But now that Turo was used in this terrible, this terrible attack, or these terrible attacks, plural, it's interesting. I'm bringing it up because Andre Haddad, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I think he's the CEO of Turo. They actually sent out a mass emailer to everyone who's on their list in response to this, which I thought was pretty interesting. Have you seen this, Deeb?
I have not. So share what you can. I like the idea that they went preemptive and just reached out.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we talked about it on the last episode, I was like, I feel bad for those guys over there because, the authorities are going to be up their rear end. They're going to be looked at so hard. I mean, is it a crazy coincidence? Is there some kind of security loophole that was exploited by people who use these Turo cars? I can't think of anything on Turo that's any different than renting from Dollar or Avis or any of the other guys. In fact, in a lot of ways, it seems more like you have to upload a photo of your driver's license. You have to prove all kinds of stuff. You have to show your insurance. There's all kinds of stuff you have to have in order to have a profile, in order to rent a car on Turo. So it's not like you're going to be able to get away with renting the car and not being responsible for. Anyways, just quickly, he's like, he says, hi. It's kind of an automated letter. It says my name. So they sent this out to everyone who's in the list. It's been a couple of days since the horrific attacks in New Orleans and Las Vegas that shocked us all on New Year's Day. We've spent We've spent these tense, mournful hours investigating, partnering with the law enforcement, and working around the clock to figure out how our platform could be misused by the perpetrators of such atrocities. I think, and he goes on to basically say everything that I said, things about thinking about the victims and their families. We're shocked, saddened, and more than anything else, just simply heartbroken. Their stories are crushing. Their loss is unfathomable. It's unfair. Thinking about how egregiously the two individuals who perpetrated these heinous crimes abused our platform, I'm outraged. This is the CEO speaking, not me. He's shocked that both guys were veterans, honorable discharge, but he goes on to talk about all the security stuff that they do and how they use AI to do all kinds of background check. I mean, it seems like there's more security for Turo than there is a regular rental car. Do you have any opinion about all that? I mean, what do you think?
No, I'm so disengaged. I've never actually used Turo. I don't have an account. So all my Turo experience comes through you and Matt Weitzel. I've ridden in cars with you guys. You guys have come to town and rent Porsches. We've been on drives. It seems like a very cool thing. I've just never engaged in it myself, so I'm the last person to ask for an opinion on all that. I do feel like it's just a bizarre coincidence, and that Turo, there's nothing in my heart that makes me feel like Turo was negligent in any way. I just feel like it's a bummer for them and their company that they're the chosen of these two perpetrators. It's a bummer. Yeah. It's a total bummer. But I think it's a coincidence. I just think it's lousy, rotten, effing luck.
And it's not like they rented specific vehicles that couldn't have been rented on, again, anywhere a else. Regular platform, right? I mean, I think it's Hertz. Is it Hertz or Budget? They're actively engaged in trying to get rid of all their EVs in their fleet, like to the point where if you rent an EV from Hertz, they will hit you up while they'll send you an email before you even bring it back. They're like, hey, want to keep that car? We've got all these financing options. They're literally trying to sell the EVs to the people who are renting them. Yeah. They're like, just don't even bring it back, bro. Whatever you do, don't do a terrorist attack. But just like
put me on the desk for that job. Like, I'll sell you $800 to keep that car right now. We'll send you the title.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think the bottom line is that we need to ban EVs apparently because EVs kill people.
Right.
EVs don't kill people.
JP. Yeah. Guns don't kill people. People with mustaches kill people.
People with EVs apparently do it. So, anyways, we don't mean to make light of any of the loss, but it is just a crazy setup there. Let us know what your opinion of Turo is. Have you used Turo? Do you like using it because you can get manual cars? You can even get classic cars sometimes in some places, which is what I'm always looking for. But all right, so you don't want to buy an EV. Most of our audience doesn't like EVs. We kind of know that. But what is going on in the classic car market? This is the show where we analyze the most interesting listings on Bring a Trailer Cars and Bids and PCAR market. And we always start out every episode by reconciling the predictions we made on the last episode. So let's get right to it. Our prices back to where they used to be. This first car on the list, Michael Deeb, what do we got? You're all grinning. You're grins.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to learn anything from this other than I'm a genius. But JP, we're going to circle right back to our Halo car from the last episode, the 1987 Lamborghini Countach 5000 QV. This particular car, as an 87, JP, was not originally sold in the United States. As I believe it to be true, the first Lamborghini Countach to be sold legally in the U.S. was 88. So this 87 was sold new in Carter Lamborghini of Hamilton, Ontario. The car remained there for a long time. In 2013, a Canadian person with a restoration shop bought the car and then 2 years later completed a 2-year restoration, rebuilding the motor and completely repainting the car in its original shade of Rosso Sevilla paintwork. Black leather, 15-inch OZ wheels. That remember, JP, they used to call that the Hyundai wing because the option for that wing price-wise was greater than the price of a new Hyundai. So that's the Hyundai wing. So JP, In August of 2022, the car was sold on Bring a Trailer for $700,000. And essentially the car has just sat for the last 2.5 years, 2.25 years, really. It hasn't gotten more than 200 kilometers on the odometer. And the car still looks spectacular in these photos, even though we went on and on about how great the photos from the last listing were. But JP, without further ado, according to our friends at classic.com, an 87 5000 QV in the secondary market is typically, or on average, a $583,500 car. Our car sold just 2 years ago after a restoration, not a long time after the restoration, but still looking to be in spectacular condition for $700,000. Not much has changed except inflation during that time. I thought this car had a chance to bring $700,000 a second time around. You took the over and went to $755,003. And lo and behold, our car did sell for $700,000 on 32 bids. I wound up getting a Yahtzee there. And before I hand it over to you, JP, one of our biggest fans in the audience out there reached out to us, direct messaged us to Bid Nerds and said, so this is Power to Me 1, the handle Power to Me 1. Wait, who did you say designed the Countach? And in the last episode, I said it was, who did I say? I teed it up here so I wouldn't forget. I said it was Gregario. I said it was Giorgetto Gregario. And then you replied, Michael Deeb said that. And he replied saying, Power to Me 1 said, saying Giorgetto Gregario designed the Countach is worse than saying Tom Brady was a great baseball player. Fair play. Marcello Gandini was the actual designer. Now I will do this. They're both Italian. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're both Italian. Yeah. At least now I'm reaching again. I think they're both Italian. They both worked for Bertoni, and around the same time, they might even been pretty similar in age. They were born the same year. So stand down, right? And listen. Gregario is the GOAT. He is the greatest of all time, and his list of cars, JP, takes up an entire Wikipedia page. But Gandini is no slouch, having done the Lancia Stratos, the Alfa Romeo Montreal, the Ferrari 308 GT4 Dino, the Fiat X19, and of course, all of the major Lamborghinis, the Countach, the Mira, the Bravo, the Marcel, the Espada, the Iraqo, and it goes on and on. Bunch of Maseratis that nobody's ever heard of. But Gandini has his own hit list. He's not like I said it was some, benchmark guy from Ford. The Gandini's like legit, but I got them wrong. So Power to Me 1, you're right. I shouldn't have done that. I just wanted to ask Power to Me 1, did you get a Yahtzee on this car? So back all right, so there you go, JP. Where you at, buddy? What
brought it home. Yeah, cliche. Yep. I thought Lee Iacocca designed this thing. I was pretty sure. Exactly. Look, everybody loves this car, but $700,000. It's a loss. There's no way around it. That is a significant loss. We have definitely seen double-digit inflation since this car last sold. To have that much money tied up in something that you're not really going to use. I mean, the only guy that really got subtract the cost of inflation. So call it, $50,000, $80,000, something like that, on this thing. You have that beautiful test drive. So somebody paid $50,000 or $60,000 to drive it for a test drive to make a video to then sell it for at basically a net loss. I think it's kind of a bummer, but I don't think this is a good indication of what's to come. A lot of people in the comments are like, "Oh, looks like Countaches are finally flattening out. Oh, things are getting back to normal. Oh, classic cars are going to get cheap again." And I'm here to say it. And I'm usually the most bearish, curmudgeon-y, just sky is falling kind of guy that you all know. And I'm here to say that I think we've got a bull market coming. What's that?
Yeah.
What's that?
And love. You said sure. Right. Said the guy know and love. Yeah, you're the curmudgeon-y that we know and love. But yeah, the bull market is right around the corner. If you're a crypto fan, you're doing this, right? Like let that guy swear and take oath, and then we're expecting a moonshot or two to the edge of spring, right? I mean, is that the normal thinking?
That seems to be the consensus, and I don't think it's say what you want about who won or didn't win and all these kinds of things. There's not a goddamn thing that anyone who is coming in as a new president can do right away that will affect the economy other than inspire confidence. And so whether or not the new administration can actually realize real benefits for the economy, actually getting interest rates and inflation in check with one another, actually getting growth, actually cutting federal spending, all these things that they're talking about doing. All of those things are great, and I applaud them for even talking about it, but none doing any cut. You could cut all the spending, right now, but it ain't going to affect anything until probably a quarter or two at least, right? That's the thing about inflation. It's just like being drunk. The positive effects of quitting drinking don't happen until way later. When you're drunk to the point that you're an alcoholic and you're poisoning yourself, and you quit drinking, what do you get? You get a hangover. It's terrible. It's actually awful. The good things, the things to fix a hangover don't come until later. So this idea that any administration is going to be able to do anything to turn the economy around right away, it's just silly. It's going to be pure confidence. And unfortunately, the pure confidence that's going to be injected into the market means more inflation. If they do something like lower interest rates, which I don't know if they're going to, not in any meaningful way, but even if they lower them a little bit, it's just going to, I think there's going to be a ton of money going in the stock market, into the crypto market, into all these different things. And I think we're going to see it's going to be really difficult for this next group of guys to keep inflation in check. So at least on the short term, the spirit of optimism in the next, probably call it 90 to 120 days, we're going to see some craziness. And I think that this guy sold his Lamborghini too soon. I think he should have waited till this month, maybe a week or two, because everybody's saying the bull market starts tomorrow. We're recording this on a Sunday night. This is live, but you might be watching this on Monday at your desk, back at work, trying to catch up on the trillion emails. I mean, how many days have people been off? I mean, with New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve being in the middle of the week, people just basically took all 2 weeks off, and people are just raring to get going. So I don't know. What do you guys think of the results of this beautiful Lamborghini Countach? Do you think a bull market is coming for the classic cars, or do you think we're going to see some downward? Are you bearish like I used to be all the time? Let us know in the comments. Deeb, what do you think? I've been just kind of rambling on.
I think it's a very, it would be much better if I contested the take, but I actually agree with it. I do, when you frame it like that, this car should have waited till March, to be honest. And everybody that's pulling their money out, they're going to love to go and buy a shiny red Italian toy. This car could be worth easily 20% more 4 months from now. So who knows?
Anthony from Hoursmiths, I'm wearing an Aviero watch, says taxes are the key for a quick turnaround, JP. There are more to the economy than interest rates and inflation. Well, yeah, that's true, but what's he going to do? He's not going to cut taxes immediately. That's going to take if he cuts income taxes, if he cuts federal taxes, if he cuts any taxes that he cuts aren't going to have an effect for at least 120 days at a minimum. Because again, cutting taxes, announcing that you're going to cut taxes will inspire confidence. That can be a shot in the arm, of course, but that will still be inflationary. If people are putting money into the economy because they're like, oh, let's start moving money around again, that's going to be, you have more money in the system, means prices are going to go up because demand for products at a limited amount. If you can't, there's only so many Lamborghinis, Countaches. There's tons of Huracans. There's tons of modern ones, but these classic ones, they're not making anymore. All right, let's move on. There were some more cars that we talked about in the last episode. Let's reconcile those predictions so we can get to some new predictions. I'm raring to go on that.
All right, JP, we found a very interesting Porsche on Cars and Bids, Doug DeMiro's site. Let's look in on the 2017 Porsche 911 Carrera S Coupe with a 7-speed manual that was listed on Cars and Bids out of Holly Ridge, North Carolina, on a clean North Carolina title. Our car is showing 45,900 miles and had a few tasteful modifications and upgrades. Let me see if I can find where they are. So Fab Speed exhaust with the high flow cats and headers, Soul Performance exhaust tips, H&R lowering springs. The big thing that I noticed, JP, was the wheel spacers to give the car just a really, really tight look. The car is beautiful in white and black. And these are the first of the turbocharged. 2017 is the first of the 991.2s. So you've got a 3-liter turbocharged flat six that's pumping out a very respectable 420 horsepower and 368 pound-foot of torque before the upgrades go in. And once you start adding exhaust and ECU flash, I mean, these cars would be a snap to get 500 to the tires really, really easy. So while there are no posted actual horsepower dyno results or anything, it's safe to say this car is making really good power, although as it's equipped, it might not pass smog in your state. So check your local listing. So JP, super nice car. It's an S, it's a manual, it's got a stance and some goodies. And I think we both sort of like this car. John, according to our friends at classic.com, the average selling price of a manual 991.2 S coupe is $87,750 in the secondary market. I thought this car was showing signs of doing really well. It had a lot of bids when we reviewed it. And despite Cars and Bids not having a big flourish at the end, I thought this car would touch $91,100. You were a bit more bearish on this car, and your bid was just $82,000. Our car sold, I think classic.com won this one. Our car sold for $87,000 even on 37 bids. Good action. Good number, good result. I feel like everybody won on this one. Like the seller got pretty much all the money, and the buyer still got a pretty good car because if that's what the car sells for and he's into all those upgrades, I mean, he just saved himself $15,000 in parts and labor. So I'd say everybody involved with this one except you. So there you go.
I had to do the math to figure out which one of us was closest, though. That was
I did too.
Was a tight one.
Yeah.
I
beat you by a grand.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, this car is beautiful. Okay, so this is a testament to the idea that modding your car never pays off. No one will pay you extra for your mods. If you want these types of things, the coilovers and the exhaust and stuff like that, it's better to get someone else to do it and buy it when they got to sell it. Because you're absolutely right, Deeb. Someone bought this car for what a stock one would be and basically got all those mods for free. Shout out to not just Ross, the OG Bid Nerd Herd member, but Chris Carbine. Both of them went on to Cars and Bids and mentioned that they saw this car analyzed on Bid Nerd. So thank you for doing that, and we encourage all of you in the Nerd Herd whenever we talk about a car on the show to go on the platform and say that you saw us talk about it on Bid Nerds. That's really awesome. So thanks, guys. And I think maybe that contributed to a late stage rally on this car because in the last 10 minutes, like you said, Deep, we never see much action, maybe 2 or 3 bids right up in the last few minutes. But this thing had a flurry in the last 10 minutes. It went up $10,000, $1,000 a minute, basically. So we never see that happen. So Doug DeMiro got it done on this really cool car. For me though, my money is still, if I'm spending that kind of money on a modern 991, it's a .1 991 GTS manual.
Normally aspirated.
I want the naturally aspirated 3.8. I don't want a 3-liter with some turbos on it. There's a fella, I'm not going to name his name, really nice guy that works at one of the detail shops here in town that we really like, and he just bought a 991.2S, a C4S, same year as this one. I don't recall how many miles it had on it, probably 30 or 40,000 or whatever. He bought it on an auction somewhere, and he didn't buy it on one of the auction platforms. He bought it on somehow, I'm not sure. Let me forget the auction part altogether. He bought it sight unseen from a dealer on the East Coast. The car was shipped out. It did make it here just fine. He didn't have a shipping problem. But the car has problems. It's probably got the dreaded what do you call it? Bore scoring, because it's ticking like
jeez.
a time bomb. And there's no like, he hit me up going, hey, do these make a tick? And the thing is, if you any of the 996, 997s, the M96 engines, the M97 engines, all the the direct injection engines, they all tick. They all kind of have a tick to them. And it sounds a little scary if you're not familiar with the sound of Porsche. I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. It's probably just that. And then he's like, oh yeah, I'm getting a low oil indicator. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Check your oil. There's a lot of, it's 13 quarts of oil in these things. So a little bit of difference can cause the light to come on. But he brought the car out to Cars and Cafe, and it's like, ooh, that car's might not make it home. So it was, we're keeping our fingers crossed for him. Maybe it's something minor, but yeah, be careful with these turbo things, man. Anthony wants me to get a 991.1 Targa GTS with a manual, and I agree with him. Go ahead and pick that up for me, Anthony, and I'm happy to take it.
Get you a cab, a 991.1 cab GTS 2-wheel drive manual. That's the car, and it's affordable. It'll be less money than this. It'll be a way better car, and it'll be a better car than the Targa. The Targa will look cool, but that GTS 2-wheel drive manual cab will be the way better driver. Get that car,
That's
JP,
a good point,
and save
because
some money in the process.
With the Targa, they only make them in C4, yeah, C4 and C4S. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right. Well, let us know what you guys think of that 991 deal. Let's move on. What other cars do we make a prediction on? What do we got?
All right, JP, really quickly, we're going to take a look at this 2009 Saturn Sky Redline with 11,000 miles. JP, we knew this car would wind up in the deal tank. 11,000 miles, automatic transmission, and way down in Kerrville, Texas, where we might all be for the Texas Hill Country Rally in March. Check again your local listing. I reserved a room. I got it. I don't know if I'm going. I might not have an air cooled when that rally comes up. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But JP, according to Classic.com, Sky Redlines, and this would include manuals, would go for $16,400, which I find really hard to believe. I thought this one with an automatic and being on PCAR Market would hammer for $8,400 and then wind up in the deal tank for like $25,000. JP, you took the under at $5,000. Our car hammered for a surprising and respectable $13,000, but it still failed to sell on 26 bids, and of course, wound up in the deal tank for $25,500. I don't want $25,000. I want $25,500. I mean, like, it's just, the stupidity is mind-numbing. JP, anything to say before we move on to that one last car?
Yeah, I mean, look, kudos to PCAR Market for getting money for this thing. My bid was $5,000. I thought this thing was DOA on this platform. Yeah, it's a low mileage car and everything like that, but geez, no, Biden just signed a bill on his way out, the Social Security bill, and it's going to raise the cost of Social Security on your check. So, excuse me. If you're already on Social Security and you get a check, you still pay into Social Security, and he just raised that. Social Security is paying for this car. If anyone buys this car, it's going to be someone on a pension and a fixed income who lives in a really nice double wide down by the Laughlin River. And I mean, this is no one under 65 is buying this car, guys. And for $25,000, just at least the guy saved money on a casket. He can be buried in this thing because he's keeping it till he's dead. This car will never see more than whatever. What was it? 12 something? It's never going to see
13.
More than $13,000. So $13,000. Forget it. Even if there is a bull market, even if inflation goes way up, that was it, dude. You had a shot. You missed it. You're out. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. We've got new predictions coming right after this. Stick around. Wait. He says no. What are you doing? Wait. Hold on. We got another car?
Yeah,
that's right. We do.
Yeah,
because that messed it up because it wasn't on the list because it was from the before.
Chris Carbine's car.
Talking about this car forever. Jeez.
4 times. Yeah, 4 shows this car has featured in.
Chris, you need to sponsor the show at this point. Come on.
Thursday, January 2nd, Chris Carbine's 2016 one owner, 8,000 mile Porsche 911 Turbo S that was on Sotheby's Motorsport finally closed. So JP, according to our friends at classic.com, the average selling price of a 991.1 Turbo S in the secondary market is $124,000. Carbine's car is a pretty unusual shade, super low miles, excellent condition, one owner, and has the beautiful aero kit on it. And so with that in mind, I thought the car had a chance to clear $155,000. You took the under, but just at $149,991. Chris Carbine informed us that he adjusted the reserve on the morning of the close of the auction to ensure that it would sell, and it did. The car hammered for $131,000 where it sold. I didn't count up the bid, so forgive me for not having a bid total on it. Carbine and his client are happy. But I will say candidly, which I've already said to Chris, I do think that this car was worth more money. Now, the interesting thing is what JP opened the show with is, are we getting this return to, as JP was saying, pre-COVID prices? So at the price at 131, when you consider that, I don't know, I just thought that the car should have brought more money. But when you take JP's take into mind, maybe 131 is all it's going to be worth, at least for the next 4 months. And then in 4 months from now, we could make the argument that this car would bring more money if everybody's cashed up at the end of a cool moonshot during the bull run. JP, anything to add to that before we go to commercial?
Yeah, probably should have waited just a little bit on this car. The other thing, I think Somo is the wrong platform. We've seen Somo do really well with really high-end stuff. And I say it every time we talk about Somo, that's Sotheby's Motorsport auction site. They really want to get rid of the riffraff. They really don't want lowlifes like me on their page. It's really kind of a non-intuitive, unless you're actually signed up and a member, they don't really give you any information. Like, I can't even see what this thing sold for, if it even did. And I think it's literally exclusive. Like, they really don't want the average Joe to come on their site and muck up their scene. And this car, as wonderful as it is, for the kinds of cars that are on this platform, it's too run of the mill. It's too low end. It's hard to imagine that a Turbo S 911 like this with low miles, in a rare setup is kind of low rent for the site, but it really is. If this thing were on BAT, it would have got way more eyeballs. There's a lot more play on BAT right now for cars that are in that $50,000 to $150,000 range. That is where you're seeing the most cash flow mobility. Any car in that kind of window is doing well. If it's above that, they're not. The Lamborghini. Probably that Lamborghini Countach should have been here, and this car should have been on BAT. That's my take. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. And congrats to Chris for getting it sold, and I'm glad to hear that everyone's happy. We've got new predictions. We're coming right back, guys. Don't go anywhere. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if bid nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around, and thanks to our sponsors, Godden Porsche and Godden Classic of Las Vegas, as well as our good friend Anthony at Our Smiths. If you have a fine Swiss watch and it needs repair, check out our friends at Our Smiths. They will get you covered. Okay, I'm excited about seeing that. We're going up there later in the month, right, Deeb? We're going to see Anthony?
That's right, man. I got my plane ticket. Randy Bloom is expecting us. How far away is Kelly Smith from all this action? Can we call him too?
He's going to be out of town. I did reach out to him and actually let him know he's going to be there, but unfortunately our cross are passing. I don't know. Kelly likes to watch the show. Huh?
Maybe we can stay at Kelly's house then while he's gone.
That's a good idea. I'll hit him up and go, hey, we're just we'll watch your dog
take
for
the
you.
Cars around the block.
Exactly, and take all the cars. Kelly watches and he lurks a lot of times. I know a lot of times he doesn't comment in the Nerd Herd, but he might be watching. Kelly, I reached out to Kelly. Kelly is selling he has one of the nicest 968 coupes around. It's not a club sport, but it looks like one because it's got the Cup 2s that are red, the guards red, and the car's guards red. Yep. So he is listing. I think he listed it on BAT. So that
it's already on
live. It's on our list. Yeah, we'll be covering that on the next episode. But I did. I did have to reach out to him and go, "What the hell, Kelly? Why didn't you call me? I would have come up and shot assets for that car. That car really we'll talk about it in the next episode. So guys, make sure you come and hang out with us Wednesday, and that'll be one of the cars that we're talking about. But we've got cars to talk about tonight. Is the market back to normal like it was before all the craziness of the last 5 years? What do you got, Deeb?
Chris Carbine says, I'm the high bidder on the 968.
Oh, sweet. Wow.
We're a very incestuous show here. I swear to God, man. We should get regular testing.
That would be awesome. Hey, Chris, if you wind up buying that car, I will drive it to New Orleans for you. There it is. You heard it here first. Maybe my partner Deeb will meet me in Idaho, and we'll do a road trip and bring it down to you. And finally,
oh my God,
that would be a great reason to go to, there. Okay. Let's get to it, guys. We've got some really cool cars on the list. This first one, I don't know how many people emailed me. Like, I got texts and emails like, why are you emailing me? And I know why, because they're all, well, I'll get to that. What's the first car on our list, Michael Deeb?
Yeah, a Sahan special. What we're looking at, JP, on PCAR Market is a backdated 1992 Porsche 964 Carrera 2 Cabriolet. And JP, at a glance, that looks like a Singer Cabriolet. I mean, it's just a Ruby Stone Singer Cabriolet. It's been updated to a 3.8 liter. It still has a 5. It's got these massively oversized Fuchs style wheels. But JP, if you've looked at a dozen Singers or more like you and I have, the details on this car are derivative. I mean, it's plagiarized in my opinion, right down to the little cuts in the lower front apron, then the plaid weave on the dash and the door cards and the seats. I just feel like somebody looked at a Singer and then basically did it themselves or whatever, with their local body shop, and then did it to a Cabriolet. So good on you for not paying Singer money. And I imagine this car probably drives well. A 3.8 and a C2 cab with a 5-speed manual. Why wouldn't you want to drive this car? Personally, not living in Miami, this car's a little too pink for me, especially all the, they've gone too far, in my opinion, on the interior. But I mean, how many knockoffs of Andy Warhol's soup cans have we seen? I think, there's lots of modified cars out there that are chewing up really good donor 964s and 993s and occasionally G bodies. But this one, to me, the moment I looked at it, all I saw was somebody just completely knocking off a Singer. And I don't really have an opinion on it. It's not for me. I don't want a fake Singer in my garage. I'd rather have the donor car that's underneath it with the 3.8 and have saved a bit of money. But there you have it, JP. And of course, it's on PCAR Market, right? Where else would an unrealistic seller be able to go and protect his half-assed asset with a stupid reserve, which I assume this car is going to have one? I will say this. I've been watching this car for a week, but as we turned on the show tonight, this car has made quite a few strides in the bidding department, and it's already up to a number that I think the guy should accept. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here as the car closes tomorrow. But definitely Sahan sent this car to me. I jest and tease because Sahan really wants a Ruby Stone car. While he's not a Cabriolet guy, I'm sure a 964 with a manual and a 3.8 in Ruby Stone certainly gets his leg to start thumping. So JP, any thumping going on in the Rami studio while you look at these pictures?
The Cabriophobes just come out in droves when something, I mean, it's like, yes, we know they didn't make convertibles in the long hoods. We know that. When you're going to they make knockoff Rolexes, right? Now, I'm not saying that you want to go out and wear a knockoff Rolex, but a knockoff Rolex is usually cheap, right? It's not as good as what it's trying to be. By all accounts, this car looks like it's pretty much, it may not be quite as good as a real Singer, but dang, man. I mean, it's got a 3.8 liter flat built engine. This car is a 964 that it just, so many things are right. Some of the details are a little weird. Like this, like I know that Singer does the whole 17-inch Fuchs wheels, but the stance is wrong on these. Like they don't have them spaced out right. And I think the 17-inch Fuchs that they build are specific, and these aren't to the same spec. This car would have looked so much better with 16-inch 3-piece Fuchs or something like that, or some BBS. I know that that's probably what Sahan would prefer on there. Some really dished out wheels.
Yeah.
The color, maybe not for everyone, but we've talked about, I mean, what is the show? We're going to have to rename the show to Pink 911 Nerds. Because on the last episode, we talked about that stupid pink, what was that? The California Roadster with a Tiptronic. This car is way better than that car. This car, getting behind the wheel, I think anyone that appreciates a classic 911 and appreciates Singer and all these kind of resto mod things, I think you get behind the wheel of this car and you're going to forget about all of your bigotry and get over yourself with the whole convertible top thing. And you're going to find that you would love this car. This thing is freaking amazing. What's it going to bring?
Bigotry. Can we start calling bigotry cabotry?
Right. I mean, look, you are a cabriophobe if you don't like this car. I haven't even looked at the comments yet. Do not tell me that it's the chassis isn't as rigid as a coupe. It's like, just F yourself, man. You're an idiot. You're literally stupid. This car is going to handle better than any stock 964 coupe ever, other than maybe an RS or a cup car, but a regular standard 964 C2 coupe, this car's chassis, I guarantee you, is better than that. All right, what's it going to bring? Sorry.
All right, JP, our car closes tomorrow, and this is a silly fact, but a 1992 Porsche 964 C2 Cabriolet with a manual is on average a $55,500 car, but that really is irrelevant because this car is so modified and so Singer-esque. This is hilarious, JP. My original bid on this car, because it was languishing at I think 101,000 or 106,000. My original bid on this car was 135, and like I said, as we opened for the show, JP, our current high bid is now at $163,000 on 5 bids, and it's got a day to go. It basically closes tomorrow, so I have to adjust my bid because I'm already out of the running. So, John, at 163, I'm going to say it goes to 185 and probably still doesn't sell because I imagine that the seller of this car is waiting to get $250,000, which he might get because it's all there, right?
Yeah.
I just, and it's probably the right platform too, to be perfectly honest. I don't know if he'll get it at Hammer, but he might get it in a post-Hammer negotiation, or he might come off it to 230 or something. But if it doesn't sell before PCAR reduces a post, I'm guessing it winds up in the deal tank for 250. But my number to you, JP, the one you have to work with, is 185,000. It's at 163 now on 5 bids. Closes tomorrow.
Well, you've been on a tear. You've been getting it right, and that's a tough bid to bid against. I just want to say, my good friend Dave Waddell, love you, bro, but he's one of the people that texts me, and he sends me the picture with a big old WTF and an angry emoji, and it was on a thread with a bunch of other people in these texts, and our good friend Dwayne Wick from Wick's Garage. Dwayne is always super diplomatic. He's like, "What's wrong? Too flashy?" And of course, I responded, "Don't be a cabriophobe." And then Dave is like, "Oh, I've never seen a backdated and flared cabrio. Looks odd. It's it's got a little RWB feel." He's already kind of dialing it back. I'm like, so I had to text, "Cry more, purist." I mean, it's like the PCA guys clutching their pearls, right? He's like, put in a bid, cab guy. I'm like, I would. This thing's going to be out of my budget. This thing's going to be way too expensive for me. And I think that's the thing is guys like these are probably looking at going, yeah, it's a 35 or 55,000 or maybe a sub $100,000 car. No way. This car, I mean, Singers are going for $1.2 million, sometimes even more now. For you to get a Singer quality car or darn near close to it, legitimately, not just this is really just kind of a regular old crappy backdate. This is a really well done one. It should be a $250,000 car. If it were a coupe, it would absolutely get $250,000, maybe even more. But the cab thing is definitely going to hold it back because that just unfortunately is the way things are. People don't appreciate cabs as much as the coupes. And for people who aren't cabriophobes, like myself, it's kind of awesome because you can get a great deal on a car that I actually like better. I would rather drive the convertible than the coupe. I know the coupe looks better, but the convertible's more fun. Your bid is 185. I'm gonna put it like right above you, Deeb. I'm gonna hedge, and I'm gonna go 186,964. And just be like, I don't know. Close. What's that? Yeah, I mean,
so close.
Will this thing get over 200,000? It should. You're not building this for anything less than that. That's for damn sure. Cool. Even Anthony would rock this car, and he'd be listening to Sir Elton John and not give a PF. So good on you, Anthony, for getting over your bigotry. It's 2025. People are finally coming around.
Cabotry.
I love it. Cabotry. All right. What do you guys think this backdated weirdo 964 singer wannabe will bring? Will PCAR Market bring more than $200,000, or is it going to stall out? Let us know, and let's move on to some more predictions. What do we got?
All right, JP, I can't wait to see why you picked for us this unusual listing for us. We have never covered a car on eBay. JP,
wait. Sorry, I didn't want to talk about that one next. Let's do that. Let's do that one for last. But yeah, cool. I do have a reason for that. Yeah.
All right, cool. So then we're just going to peek in on Bring a Trailer, JP, is a modified 2021 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon, sporting a hefty Hemi V8, a 392. Our car is listed out of Annapolis, Maryland, showing 21,000 miles. And again, the aforementioned highlight is the 6.4-liter Hemi V8. That particular version of the Hemi is not super powerful, JP. What we're talking about is 470 horsepower and 470 pound-foot of torque. This looks like one of the longer wheelbase Rubicons because it has the four-door. And the modifications include wheels and tires. They took off the doors and the top, and it looks like they might have played with the suspension and a few things. But cool car, fair mileage. It's got its own look for sure. What's interesting to me, JP, and you and I go back and forth on this, and the reality is there probably is no right answer at any given moment. But when I look at something like this, I think you narrow the appeal. I think you cast too narrow a net. So for me personally, if I was advising this guy before he came to market, I would say spend the money and put everything back to stock on this car. And then whatever you spent, you can sell the modifications to another big fan of Jeeps in the secondary market as used parts. That would be my advice. But this guy has photographed, he has inventoried and kept all of the original parts. They are nice photos. Everything looks to be in excellent condition in the bucket of photos, but he is selling it as it sits modified. And JP, personally, it's just not the way I would advise him. He may do well with this, but God, Jeep's just been run through the ringer lately. I just think you'd want to eliminate all the variables on the road to the sale. And this guy didn't do that. So I wonder how well it's going to do. And I wonder what they're really worth. Even if it was stock, how do you guess the value of a used Jeep, without we don't look in on Manheim auctions results. So it's really hard to say what these cars should actually bring because like you said, Jeep has just been having such a tough time in general. Stellantis, as we've been talking and whatever. Anyway, JP, your turn. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you'd be giving someone really bad advice. Your advice to return it to stock is exactly what you should do with maybe a European classic car or something like that. So I don't know who designed this, who penned the Jeep, but I do know that you shouldn't try to look. You're just not going to get any money for all these mods. That's the difference between European mods and like the American car mods. They're not that expensive. So the amount of time and effort it would take to pull all that stuff off. On top of which, there are so many Jeeps on the market. There are so many Jeeps on the market that you need to do something to stand out. Because if you just have a stock regular Wrangler, no one's going to look twice at it. It's going to be hard enough to get anyone to look twice at this one. The reason why that isn't what I really wanted to talk about. I just wanted to bust my partner's balls a little bit. But the real reason why I wanted to talk about this is because of the Stellantis situation. The whole, we kind of forgot to talk about, are things back to normal when we talked about that Singer car and why our bids were, or that Singer wannabe cab, the one just before this. This car, unlike the classic 911s or the classic cars in general, classic cars, I don't think are going to be affected like something like this. This is a 2021. You can go to a Stellantis dealership anywhere in America right now and find a 2023 version of this car. Maybe even a 2022. Now, I got to backtrack on that a little bit. This is the 392. This is the big V8 engine, so they didn't make nearly as many of these, and they are actually, I'm going to say, sought after, if there is such a thing when it comes to a Stellantis vehicle. Most of the Wranglers have that terrible 6-cylinder or the hybrid version that they have now. But that said, Stellantis is in major trouble. They canned their CEO finally, and it sounds like the new guys are doing something that's kind of interesting. It sounds like they've got a dealer group in the Northeast. I don't know how many dealers, but I think there's dozens of dealers in this dealer group that have, Stellantis dealerships all over the Northeast, and they're going to try to do the fixed price model in a certain market. They're going to reduce the price of all Stellantis vehicles by like 35%, which is what needs to happen. Yeah. We need to see, like, a Jeep Wrangler before the craziness back in 2019, 2018, when the new JK, when this body style came out, you could go to a Stellantis dealership, a Jeep Wrangler dealership, and get a brand new one, the most basic bitch version of a Jeep Wrangler 4-door you could get for $30,000, give or take $1,000, with whatever kind of rebates they had going on any given day. They got up to, like, this one, the retail on these V8 ones, $80,000 more, something like that. I mean, there's just no reason for a Wrangler to be that much money. I do like that this has the bigger engine, because I do think that this actually puts it in a class that not necessarily competes directly with a G-Wagon, but at least it becomes a really inexpensive alternative to a G-Wagon or even an Ionos or whatever. But, at $80,000, you can get an Ionos. Why would you get a Jeep Wrangler? I mean, yes, it's got the big engine, but who cares? It's a Jeep Wrangler. These are ubiquitous. I like them. They are fun. I've owned them. I will probably own another one, but I won't pay money for them. Not great. I mean, the market needs $40,000 vehicles. It needs vehicles that people can actually afford. And right now, with interest rates being where they are and them probably not coming down a whole lot, $1,000 payments are kind of the normal deal for people. And that means that with interest rates the way they are, for most people who don't have perfect credit, they're going to be paying $1,000 a month for a car that's $40,000. There's no way they can afford $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 Ram pickups, and it's not going to happen. Stellantis needs to lower the prices significantly in order to get people to buy these damn things, especially when they have vehicles on their lots that are basically having birthdays. So all that said, what do we think this particular one that's kind of cool with all the cool stuff? One thing I busted your balls, Deeb. I said that it wouldn't be worth it to take all the stuff off, but I don't think it necessarily, I don't see the person getting their money back. I think that they're just lucky with having all the stuff on this vehicle means they might sell it at all. What do we think it's going to sell?
All right, JP, according to our friends at classic.com, a 2021 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Rubicon is an average $65,300 thing. I think that's old data, and I don't think this car is going to come anywhere close. John, our car is currently listed at $47,500 by way of 17 bids, and it closes tomorrow. John, I'm going to give you a hammer price of $53,500, and I think you should take it. So there you go, $53,500 to you.
Yeah, I think that's a good bid, but I think it's going to bring more than that because it's the V8. If this were just a run-of-the-mill Rubicon, yeah, forget it. But this is the big engine one, so I'm gonna. What was your number? 50 what? 50.
Yeah, 53.5. My original bid was 55.5, and I just changed it while you were talking. I'm going to go down.
I'll take your original bid at 55.5.
Yep.
I actually think this thing could hit 60. These are still fairly strong, and with all the mods, I think this is kind of like that 991 that we talked about before the break. If you're gonna buy a 991, with a manual, you may as well buy one that has all the mods that you want on it. I think that's kind of the same deal here. There are a few of these out there with the big engine, but if you're gonna buy one, chances are you're gonna do all this stuff to it anyway. That's the thing. I think that's the reason why I kind of came after you on the whole advice of demodding it, is because with European cars, with specific, classic European cars, people want the stock version of a fill-in-the-blank car, whether it's a 190E Cosworth or an old 911 or whatever. There are the purists that are like, yeah, I want that. There are no Jeep purists that are like, okay, I'm going to get the Jeep with the highest trim level, and I'm not going to touch it. There's no subset of Jeep enthusiasts that appreciate a stock one more than a modded one. The modded ones are always going to be worth more because everyone that gets a Jeep, it's the first thing you're doing is like, oh, what's the stuff I can put on it? I mean, I think that's kind of the difference.
And I think that's a really good take. And my only argument to that is it's the dead of winter and there's no doors on that car. I mean, you can't drive it home. Like most of the country right now, there's snow and rain on the ground. It's got mesh doors. It doesn't have doors on the car right now.
Yeah, but it has the doors. Those are just the mesh doors. Are just those are aftermarket doors. But it comes with full doors.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. About? I would put it back to stock so the doors are on it so you could drive it home. Like right now, if this car goes to the Midwest, the guy who's buying the car,
my brother. See, you're such a European car guy. I don't want to respond. Okay, who's gonna tell him? Anybody gonna tell him? Anybody should we let him know? Dude, the doors literally come off and on like it's. That's the whole point of a Jeep is the doors. It's not like you have to like mod the vehicle to change the doors. It's literally screw, take the door off, take the other door on, line it up, plop. And like on the new ones, I don't even think you need to screw them in. I think they just lock in and you clamp it down. I mean, it is like. That's what so I love it. Deep.
And my argument would be all the more reason then to put the doors on it so that somebody could drive it home. It's a thing of convenience in my mind that like make it as easy as possible for somebody to go, I want to take that car and I don't have to do anything to get it into my
anyone that is going to even kind of think of bidding on this vehicle knows that door swap is a 30-second swap, and
copy that.
It looks cooler with the half doors, and I frankly think they should have put the top down too because they always look cooler. Yeah. But it's just no one's gonna be looking at this going, oh, it doesn't have full doors. I mean, other than you, obviously, but you're not someone who would even remotely consider bidding on this. So nothing lost there. But there it is. I mean, that's a good point though. I mean, it's like I like what you're thinking, right? When you're trying to sell something on one of these auction sites, you want to lower the barriers. You want to make it as seamless, and you want to get rid of as much friction as you can. And I think this is just one of those vehicles that if it's not in your world, you just don't know. Yeah. Just like some people
experience with that.
Have no experience with old Italian cars and wouldn't know one thing or another about them. Just looking.
JP, in order for me to be a more well-rounded car guy, I need to spend a summer in Snohomish.
That is true. I need to spend
or maybe a winter.
That sounds pretty good. I love that idea. Or maybe up in Idaho, we'll go hang out with Anthony. We'll just camp out in his backyard for.
Move over, Mercedes. We're moving in.
We're coming. All right. So spent a lot of time on that. We got one more vehicle to cover. So let's hit it real quick.
Let me tee it up for you really quick, JP. On eBay right now is a 1994 Porsche 911 Carrera 2 Cabriolet. Our car is listed out of Bethel, Connecticut, and has particularly low miles. JP, I looked it up, 42,400 miles. Manual transmission, Cocoa mats, standard 16-inch wheels. Nice car. It's all there, air conditioning. It's interesting because eBay doesn't follow the same format as our friends at like Bring a Trailer, Cars and Biz, and PCAR Market. So several places on the listing, there is the written disclaimer that says this vehicle is listed in other places and the seller reserves the right to end the auction at any time. So if somebody walks up to his driveway, says, I'll give you whatever, 60 grand for that car right now, he can take the money and cancel the eBay listing. So your bid does not guarantee you a fighting chance till the end, which is kind of a bummer. JP, the car looks to be pretty good condition. However, there is a little bit of rust at the base of the windshield. That was the only thing that sort of jumped out at me. Tan interior, but I like this car. I like this car for you. Why did you pick it?
Well, we never talk about cars on eBay. I mean, the 964, whatever, we just covered a 964 cab. I don't want this episode to be about 964s, but I just thought it was interesting that we never really talk about the whole eBay thing. And I wanted to ask the Nerd Herd how they feel about it. What do you guys think about the idea of, has anyone actually bought or sold a car on eBay? I think as we go into the new year, I think eBay is like this particular car. I think there's no way this thing sells. No, I mean, it's just it's a shit platform for cars. It's just garbage. There's no comment section. There's no transparency. It's a mess. You don't even, I mean, forget it. Right. But eBay is a massive freaking company. It's part of Alphabet. If they wanted to, and we've talked about this years ago, but if they wanted to be a player in this space, they could own it. Like, we've got Sotheby's, we've got, Haggerty, all these other players keep trying to come in and go after Bring a Trailer. Doug DeMuro's kind of the closest thing, but Doug DeMuro's got a single-digit percentage of the market. PCAR Market has a single-digit. BAT is a juggernaut. The only company that has a remote chance in hell in taking a bite out of BAT is eBay. If they got their act together, and there is talk about antitrust stuff coming down the pike and Alphabet being broken up, this is one of those companies that none of the big tech bros are talking about as a potential. But I think eBay, if eBay were broken off again as an independent platform, and some people actually paid attention to what they have, they could absolutely blow BAT out of the water. What do you guys think of that? What's your opinion of that, Deeb?
Wow. I totally agree, JP, and that thought has crossed my mind. I love how you opened with, has anybody used eBay? And the question I would say is, anybody, like, since the pandemic, right, since the shelter in place in 2020, has anybody actually bought a car off of eBay? Of course, I've bought parts off eBay, but it's almost like it's a marketing platform, and you go on there and the parts are just listed like a classified, even though they're on auction. I don't think anybody who's listing anything in the auction expects it to actually sell at hammer. And with a few minor tweaks and a little bit of energy and investment and a push, eBay could just Godzilla stomp Bring a Trailer and make Bring a Trailer their BITCH. That would be very interesting, but I have not heard anything about what you were whispering about the breakup and stuff like that. That would be fascinating to me. But again, boring show if I agree with everything you say, but I've thought it myself.
Yeah, I mean, BD is saying eBay was ruined by scammers years ago, and it's true, right? I mean, eBay has basically become Amazon for used stuff. It's like if you can't find it on Amazon, go look on eBay. You find a used version of it, or probably new versions of it too, when it comes to car stuff. But I think that if eBay just said, okay, we're going to revamp eBay Automotive, and we're going to instill all the same features that BAT has, comment section, extended bidding time, all those features. I think eBay combined with with Google. I mean, if you search for car auction, eBay would just dominate. It would never. Google will never show a BAT listing again. I mean, it's just all right. Well, that said, we're going long on this episode. What do we think this 964 will bring on eBay? Will it bring anything?
All right, JB. So a C2 cab with low miles and a manual is, again, according to Classic.com, a $55,500 car. JP, our car on eBay is currently sitting at $52,600, and it closes in 2 days from now. John, I think this car is going to hit $55,500 and sell. Where are you at?
Yeah, if this car were on Bring a Trailer, this thing, I think, and cleaned up, I mean, terrible assets, if it had some photos, and if this thing were presented like an average listing on BAT, I think it's a $65,000, maybe $70,000 car. It's got pretty low miles. And by the way, this is a 94, so it has the better transmission, fewer issues than the earlier model cars do. Yeah. And it's a C2.
Got gaskets.
Yeah, it actually has gaskets between the engine and the transmission. But what was your numbers? 55.
55.5.
I don't think it goes anywhere. I think it's just. I don't even think it sells. I think this is just somebody marketing it, and I just think it doesn't look like there's much traction. I don't think it goes anywhere. I think it's wherever it's at. I don't think it gets another bid. All right.
Okay.
That's it, guys.
52.6 is your bid.
52.6 is my bid. Thanks for hanging out. We will be back on Wednesday. Happy New Year, everyone. Anything else you want to say, Dee, before we get out of here?
Good night, nerds.
Nerds! Speed Nerds is your YouTube card game show.